Welcome back to this week's edition of the Rock and Roll Ghost podcast. This week we have filmmaker, producer, musician, all around creative artist, Martin Shore, whose new film, Take Me to the River, New Orleans, is getting a release beginning this Friday, April 29th, when this will go live. Martin, thank you for being on the show. How are you doing today?
Great, Brett. Thanks for having us.
Oh, I appreciate you being here. I just had this sent to me like on Thursday. I didn't know about it until I think it was like EPK TV put out something, and I was like, oh wow, this is right up my alley because I'm a huge New Orleans fan and huge New Orleans music fan. So I was really eager to check this out, and I ended up watching it last night, and I will admit I didn't do any research into the film itself because I thought it was a concert. I didn't realize it was like a documenting of musicians more than anything. And I loved it. First of all, I mean, you know, you've got some great people on there. How did this? You obviously did Take Me to the River before with blues artists. How did this New Orleans project get started?
It was definitely the logical transition from Memphis, just moving down the river. You know, Brett, Memphis is a wholly American story of where American music came from. New Orleans is really the story of where world music came from. And it's a collection, what I call a musical gumbo, really, of influences and inspiration from around the world, whether it be, you know, West African rhythms, European military beats, Haitian syncopation, Afro-Cuban habanera. I mean, there's so many things that go into New Orleans music.
Mm-hmm. Well, and but I mean, what got you to get to this project rolling though?
Well, I had just wrapped on Memphis, but I had the, you know, I was thinking about, well, where am I going next? You know,
right.
What am I doing next? And New Orleans was the logical next step. Mm-hmm. And, you know, really tried to take what we had accomplished with Memphis to New Orleans, and that was really kind of a really good segue because a lot of the musicians had been familiar with that film, and if they hadn't, they watched it. And so word on the street in New Orleans before we even started the first session was real positive.
Yeah. Who was like the first act that signed on, or who was the first artist, I guess, to sign on to do this, and what was how complicated was getting all of this together? And you filmed this in 2018, is that correct?
We started actually late 2016.
Okay, well, it's been a while then. Okay.
Yeah. You know, the pandemic got in the way, and I didn't want this to come out without people having the opportunity to see it in a theater. And experience it that way. You know, we go and mix at Skywalker, so the sound in a theater is just phenomenal. But in terms of, you know, how it got rolling, I want to say that our first session might have been Anders Osborne, actually.
Okay.
And then, you know, we kind of moved through the first 3 or 4 pretty good. The trick, we're nonprofit, and so, you know, we fall down on a list of priorities with musicians, right? So we have to try and pick them or sort of grab them when we can. And we had to strategically film during Jazz Fest and Mardi Gras when we knew musicians would be in New Orleans. The downside to that is they're doing, you know, 15 to 25 gigs, you know, during that time. So we had to figure out how to grab musicians when we could.
Yeah, yeah. For me, the biggest moment, because they were the ones that got me into New Orleans music first, is that session with the Nevilles, and to be able to see Art and Charles.
Mm-hmm.
And I will admit that I was into the Neville Brothers when I was in high school, which in the 1980s, for a high school kid to be into the Neville Brothers from Illinois wasn't exactly like normal, you know. So they mean a lot to me. I got to interview Ivan last year, and but to see Art, you know, even though he was struggling after his stroke, still, you know, but to see him be able to get up there and play, and to see Charles and all of them in the room together, I have to admit, you know, some tears came to my eyes, because I I don't think I was expecting to see Art and Charles. I didn't know when the film was made. So you know, it was really special to get to see that. And I guess I'm curious. I mean, that kind of fell together in an interesting way. Not all of them were supposed to be there.
That's true. And I would be not telling you the entire truth if we hadn't tried to, you know, scheme on how it might be able to fall together. And I give credit to Ian in terms of strategy, but it started off as an Aaron Neville session with Dirty Dozen, and
Yeah.
you know, Cyril had been on, you know, several sessions, and he would kind of routinely stop by. You know, he was really interested in the project at the time. Charles was in town for Jazz Fest as well, and he had no problem kind of coming by and coming over. The big question was Art, you know,
Yeah.
and that's why, you know, it's really up to Ian to get his pops over there, and he did. And I agree. You know, it's still a very emotional, even talking about it, it's a very emotional piece to see, you know, Ivan and Ian playing with their fathers, George Porter Jr. there. You know, there was just a lot of love, and you could feel in the room how everyone thought, wow, this is special. This is something, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think everybody on Wednesday night that was at the premiere felt the same way you did.
Awesome. Yeah. No, it was just I don't know, it was just something else. And I like I said, I think the reason why it got to me is because I didn't know it was gonna happen. And
Neither did we.
yeah. No, and it's just so special because that those guys mean an awful lot to me. I mean, hell, I'm friends with the guy that did their Yellow Moon cover too. So it's
Oh,
all these, I have all these, like, you know, deep back. I've seen Aaron perform. Well, I've seen the Neville. I saw the Nevilles perform. They opened for Huey Lewis and the News when I was 14 years old. And
wow.
that was a big thing to see. I got to see the Meters when they reformed and played a Chicago date a while back, and that was special. And also I was just down in New Orleans last year, and I got to see George perform at Maple Leaf, which
Yeah.
was an unbelievably cool night. I mean, I went down there for my 50th birthday, and wanted to make sure I heard some music, so I went to the Maple Leaf. I saw Kermit play at Bullets, you know. So I didn't get as much music in as I wanted to, but you know, that town is very special to me. And you know, just being able to see all those guys and all those women and everybody perform, it was amazing. And you know, there's so many people in it. It's insane how many people you have in it. You have the Dirty Dozen Brass Band, you have Rebirth, you have George, the Nevilles, you have Big Frida, you know, and then you get some people from, you know, you wouldn't necessarily expect who you've worked with before. I mean, like G-EAZY and Snoop Dogg show up, and you get, you know, Mac in there, you had Dr. John, you know, you got a lot of people. And was there anybody that you wanted that you weren't able to make it work?
Yeah, there's a few. I mean, we got to your point, we got the vast majority.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted, you know, we definitely wanted to have Harry involved. At the time, he had his TV show going, his daytime TV show, so he was pretty wrapped up. We certainly wanted the Marcellus family to be represented. You know, Ellis was right there, and you know, we definitely had talks with everybody, and he was a big fan of Take Me to the River. We just calendar wise somehow didn't all together. Kermit Ruffins was another one who was definitely invited, but not just for whatever reason didn't work out. But that's probably, you know, that's probably the short list. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing one or two, but to your earlier point, we got, you know, we got a lot of them.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. No, it's pretty staggering. I mean, you know, and you got Irma in there, and I mean, geez, it is just something. And to think about all the, you know, all the people that aren't around, you know, weren't around at the time and aren't around now, that, you know, like one of my, to indicate more of my love for New Orleans, my favorite show of all time is Treme, the David Simon.
Yeah.
And I loved how that was able to get a few people who weren't on, you know, who weren't around much longer. Like they had Fats on there, you know, on their show, which was really something to be able to see him, you know, kind of take people down to, you know, to memory lane a little bit about, you know, his influence. So I'm like way steeped in this. So the movie was just an absolute treasure to be able to watch and experience. And then you've got a great narrator in John Goodman, who's kind of like a adopted son of New Orleans.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's been in New Orleans probably the better part of 40 years, I guess.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's as much a part of the landscape now as anybody in terms of, you know, his presence. But, you know, John, because of his love for the city and because he is a New Orleanian, it sounded sincere. It wasn't like the narration wasn't narration, you know, it was heartfelt, and each word, each sentence was seamless for him because it meant something to him. It was really coming out of his soul, out of his heart. And that's why I think he was the logical and turned out to be just a fantastic choice on the narration piece.
Yeah, he was excellent to have. And there's so much great history about the culture and the town and the music in between the sessions, which I love. Obviously the movie's coming on in the theaters for a bit. I'm sure you're already gearing up for a home video release at some point. Is there anything that people can expect on the home video release, perhaps, that isn't in the film?
I'd say late summer. Oh, you mean additional?
Right, but you could also, when you expect it to be out too, yes.
Yeah, look for it late summer. Yeah, we have a treasure trove of, you know, unfortunately, you know, sessions and songs that didn't make it into the film, some of which has been highlighted on Take Me to the River's YouTube channel, particularly the 5 singles that we've dropped from the record, which is coming out this Friday as well.
Awesome.
We have done kind of behind the scenes looks at the making of these particular songs, meaning that it's it's session footage that we didn't use in the film. So yeah, there's look on the YouTube channel, and yeah, when we release, we're gonna probably have a couple of bonus sessions in there that will knock your socks off. And
That's awesome.
that's part of the problem with a film like this is, some of the sessions have to hit the floor, and
Yeah.
that's probably the most difficult part of the whole process.
Oh, I would imagine. I would imagine. Well, let me ask you. I guess I want to get into some of your past a little bit. But do you have you been working on a third film, or is there something else you're working on?
Oh, there's I've made a commitment to definitely do one more at least. Take Me to the River. And there's a couple of cities that are being sort of considered. One is going across the seas to a different river, to London, and telling the story of that rich musical history, and how they repackaged our music, and rebranded it into something called, the British Invasion. And
Yeah.
came over here. I'm not sure that story has been, really told. It's been told in part for sure. And one of the other things I've been considering is Nashville, Bristol, and kind of shaking that up a little bit by maybe including some rap into that, and just kind of throwing it on its ear a little bit.
That sounds cool. Both ideas sound awesome, actually. So, I'll look forward to hearing more about when something gets decided, I guess.
Yeah, I'll make sure I reach out to you for sure.
That'd be great. Well, okay, let's. You're obviously you're here today as a filmmaker, but you're a musician as well, and you're a music producer. But you've worked with. Do you really toured with Bo Diddley?
Yeah, I did. I was 21, 22. Yeah.
Wow. That as somebody that's gotten a Bo late in life, that's very impressive.
Yeah, it was, I really didn't realize, I knew how special it was, but in retrospect, it probably gets more special,
Yeah. It's just an amazing person. And you think about how his career went sideways because of a decision he made on Sullivan.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, back then you could do one thing and it could derail your career, and
It's
true. And it wasn't even like a bad thing necessarily. It was, like Jerry Lee Lewis had the issue with marrying his cousin, which was a little freaky.
Yeah.
13 years old too, but all Bo did was decide to do something different on Ed Sullivan, and all of a sudden he doesn't have a career anymore. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
A lot of those musicians, didn't get their just due during the time of their prime of their career.
Yeah.
And I got let go when Bo started doing those commercials with Bo Jackson. It was Bo Knows.
Oh, yeah.
And he started, really making big money, and which was great. It was really great for him. And, it kind of catapulted him into a different, a little bit different stratosphere. But yeah, I can't tell you how many conversations I had with him with it, it being a little bitter,
Yeah.
a little bitter.
Well, there's that great scene in the Chuck Berry documentary, Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll, where it's Chuck, Little Richard, and Bo sitting around a piano talking about how the band done them wrong. which I think is one of the best examples of underlining how a lot of guys got screwed, pretty bad early on, and
yeah, definitely. There's no question about it. It's, to your point, it's been chronicled and covered, probably maybe not as much as it should be, but yeah, there was a lot of crooked dealings. There was a lot of these musicians didn't have a very good command of business, even just math, English. Some of the things that we talk to our students about is know what you're signing, read, know how the numbers come together. These are important things. And part of the problem too was because they didn't have the the guidance, and in some cases maybe the education to sort out how to effectuate their dealings. There became this complication of like, well, I need a car, and I need this, and all of a sudden it became so gray. No one had an understanding of where anything was. And it further complicated everything. Right. Yeah. Luckily there's some good examples, right? Like Curtis Mayfield, and some of Sam Cooke, for example. Sam Cooke was probably one of the first, if not the first, to start his own label and to control his own masters. Bobby Rush, another one. He's, to me, the king of the independents. He's one of the only artists who got his masters back from Chess Records, and controlled his career from very early point on. But those are the exceptions for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even comparatively, and I won't belabor this point, but I mean, with the Elvis movie coming out this summer, it's like technically Elvis got taken advantage of too.
Oh yeah, no question, no question. Those are the days when management or record label presidents or whatever would get songwriting credits, which is just, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, there's that great episode on The Sopranos where the guy Hesh, that's basically a loan shark, for association with the Soprano family. He used to own a record label where he supposedly wrote all these songs, and he gets royalties for them, but he didn't write a damn song himself.
It's so true. And with Elvis's case, bad management, can really derail a career as much as lack of management, right?
Yeah.
In his case, I mean, he never even went overseas.
Right. That I learned that recently, and that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Blew my mind.
And the only reason was because the colonel didn't have a passport, and couldn't travel.
Yeah, like that was that difficult to get.
Yeah, I think
it had some legal issues.
Yes, yeah, he got down to legal issues. I don't think he was able to get one.
Yeah, and he wasn't about to let him go off and do things without supervision. So
yeah. Well, the TV special that was simulcast, like one of the first worldwide simulcasts, that was the real reason for it, because they couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. It's something. You mentioned, you talk about you do more work as a nonprofit, right? If you could talk a little bit about that, that's something I guess I don't know much about.
Yeah, we are a nonprofit. We have, award-winning film, record, live show, but we lead with our education. And Berklee College of Music is our main education partner, and have been for the last 8 years since Take Me to the River came out. We have assists with the Grammy Museum and the New School. But Berkeley has commissioned Common Core curriculum that's in high schools and middle schools across the country. We have a college course that is now I've taught at the New School for the last 3 years and now getting revamped. I'll be going to Berkeley in September. Our mission, Brett, is to make sure that deserving students have a chance to not only have music education, but real music tools and instruments so that they can not only pursue music, but appreciate music and understand music as a way of learning about themselves and history and social issues. So yeah, we tend to put a lot of emphasis in our education piece.
That's great. That's great. It's really good to hear. And is there, I'm and just out of curiosity, I'll post a link and everything with the feature, but do you accept donations, or are you just public, or are you funded?
No, we accept donations. Of course, we get, various forms of funding, but we rely mostly on donations as the biggest part. We're not a large charitable organization, meaning that, we don't have a big infrastructure. We're just small and lean.
Yeah.
TakeMeToTheRiver.org is where you'll be able to find everything. You'll find out about our education and also about screenings, live tour, where, when and where for the record, but also what we're doing educationally. And we've got a lot that we're working on currently now with getting all the New Orleans assets in line. But Berklee College of Music through Berkeley City Music, which has about 50 affiliates across the country. They're mostly magnet and after school programs. There's proprietary online suite of tools through Pulse. And we're developing a partnership with Soundtrap to also have more educational resources and tools. Soundtrap is great. It's where students can go and record music without having to download software. They're able to understand the recording process on a very granular level. Pulse is another online suite of tools where they can learn how to separate stems and maybe play along. If they're a bass player, they can take the bass stem out and play along with the song. There's tablature and written music so that they can learn how to read music along with while playing with it. So there's a lot of assets and tools we have for students, and all they need is an internet connection. That's
great. No, that's really great. It's TakeMeToTheRiver.org is where everybody could find that, right?
That's exactly right.
All right. Well, Martin, I really appreciate you taking the time today to talk. The movie is Take Me to the River, New Orleans. The soundtrack and the film are being released this Friday, April 29th. Check for it in your city. Home video release will be at some point in the summer. Check out their YouTube channel and definitely go to TakeMeToTheRiver.org for, help them out with some donations and because Lord knows all the music programs practically in schools have been taken away. So kids need music. I mean, that's the truth. They need something besides just school.
Absolutely. And, students learn differently, and being able to tap into music is a way of getting into history and social issues is really a great jumping off point. So, and Brett, keep doing what you're doing. You do great work, and
I appreciate that.
It's hosts and shows and podcasts like yourself that allow us to continue, you know, getting the message out. So thank you.
Oh, thank you as well. I appreciate it. And Martin, you know, best of luck with everything. And I appreciate you taking the time today. Stay safe and have a great rest of your day.
Absolutely. You too. And
All right.
I'll stay in contact. I promise.
I appreciate that. Yeah, do so.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, Brett.
All right. Thank you.